current status quo is elected, I don't think crypto is going to have the greatest 4 years afterwards. If a different party is elected, we might have one of the greatest bull runs of our lifetime. I've been warning you guys about politics, but this is why it matters. This is why crypto is politics.
She was put in charge of the border.
Nope. She was put in charge of reaching out to the South and Central American countries to stem the immigration.
She wasn't the border czar.
She was not actually the border czar.
She is not the border czar.
She was never border czar.
She was not the border czar.
Let's be very clear. There was no border czar.
A czar, any person exercising great authority or power in a particular field, a czar of industry. Let's go back in time.
President Biden put his vice president, Kamala Harris, in charge of one of his administration's growing challenges. She is now the point person on immigration.
Vice President Harris is now the Biden administration's point person
To oversee his administration's efforts to stem the flow of migrants.
Kamala Harris, the point person on immigration.
The point person in the effort to stop the flow of migrants.
Kamala Harris will lead the response to the border challenge.
Kamala Harris to lead the White House efforts to tackle migration challenges at the U.S.-Mexico border.
To take the lead on overseeing all of these efforts at the border.
Putting his vice president, Kamala Harris, in charge of this.
Her first big portfolio item.
To oversee solutions.
And I have confidence that she's going to do a good job in this role. I think President Biden made a good decision, a wise move.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, Vice President Harris is supposed to actually attend, of course, Bitcoin Nashville, but the feedback and the backlash she got from wanting to attend this conference was, unprecedented to say the least. Nobody wanted her to be at this conference, especially when you have Donald Trump speaking, because Donald Trump is going to dwarf anything that she is going to be capable of producing. But this isn't about being a Trumpy or being a Harris, okay? It's not being a Democrat or being a Republican. What I'm looking at from this, guys, is straight background and historical reference. Trump has done some bad things, but you have to also admit he's done some really, really good things for the economy. And what matters to me right now, what matter and should matter to you guys, is the future of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency brings transparency. It brings trust. It brings back a level of communication that we have not had with our corporations or our government. That is why they were, one, scared of it for too long, and now two, trying to make very political directional quotes that say Bitcoin's for war criminals, Bitcoin's for money launderings, Bitcoin's a scam. That is coming from one direct party. And I want you just to listen here from RFK, someone who is actually attending the conference right now, just a little bit about Vice President Harris's past. This isn't about choosing a political party or a side. It's about simply having all of the facts and making the best possible decision that's going to benefit us, our portfolios. Yes, guys, I am greedy. That is what capitalism is at heart. And of course, with a decentralized economy, we want to make sure that we can advance that and have entrepreneurs build in the United States. So check this out from RFK.
You mentioned Kamala Harris is who you said that the Democratic Party appeared poised to put into that position. You were critical there, obviously, of President Biden's policy. What, if anything, is different? How do you compare yourself to Kamala Harris if she does become the Democratic nominee for president?
Well, I think, Kamala Harris is the party of war. She is, she's a war hawk. The Democratic Party was always the peace party. Kamala Harris is a war hawk on Ukraine. She's a war hawk on China. I think that we should be figuring out ways to coexist with the rest of the world as best we can. Of course, we need to protect our national security. I think she's not going to do anything about the national deficit. I've never heard her speak about the chronic disease epidemic, I think she's a product of the corporate control of our democracy. And she's one of the authors of, in terms of civil rights, she has one of the worst civil rights record of any public official. She's the author of one of the primary authors of the school to prison pipeline. She kept 5,000 people, despite a Supreme Court order that she released 5,000 prisoners of nonviolent drug crimes who were illegally in California jails. She kept them in there saying that we needed them for firefighting and for other public work services. And that's just a modern version of indentured servitude, a modern version of slavery. She was one of the two leading public officials in California, which now has the worst education system, 49th in education outcomes in the country. 50% of the homeless people in our country are in California, and she was behind those policies. I don't think she has a good I don't think, in terms of the traditional Democratic principles, I don't think she has a credible record.
In fact, she was actually voted the most libertarian senator by a nonpartisan group in 2020. And this is the point, guys. RFK, I wish is somebody I would hopefully be able to vote for, but unfortunately, the Democratic Party has changed over 60 different rules and will not allow him to have a free and fair election in terms of the nomination for our Democratic Party. That is not a democracy. This isn't about being, oh, well, you're just saying that because you're a Trumper. It's like, guys, find a middle ground. Use some logics. Have some common sense at this moment. We are voting not for just a president. The president is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. What we're voting on is a cabinet. We're voting on Supreme Court justices. We're voting on commissioners that are going to be in positions of power that make the decisions off our legislative and, of course, regulations in each of these branches. The CFTC, of course, FINRA, SEC. You guys saw Gary Gensler. He's done nothing but lose and waste taxpayer dollars and incriminates the wrong individuals. This is someone that met with Sam Bankman-Fried a dozen times and cannot stop the largest financial fraud to exist in human history. Why? Because, of course, Sam Bankman-Fried is donating to people like Maxine Waters. There's a lot of dark money involved with these groups. What we got to look forward to is what is going to be the best for our portfolios. What's going to be the best for America? What's going to be the best for not just me, not just you, but our neighbors? My favorite thing about the current Biden administration party here, this isn't about DEI. This isn't about racism. This isn't about abortion laws. I'm pro-choice. That's not what this is about, but you guys like to make this very politically heated. There's a lot of rage bait out there, and I understand. But what this is about is going to be, where are we heading in the future of these markets? Because the Biden administration, they constantly attack crypto. They're an anti-crypto army. As soon as Kamala Harris got told that she had backlash from the community, she had advisors or cabinet members leak that she said Bitcoin was, of course, for criminals. That's not somebody you want on your side of the fence here or batting on your team. That's not something that's going to have pro-crypto legislation. So moving forward here, this is also the same people that were behind, of course, all the TikTok bans. They wanted to move TikTok outside of the United States. There was a lot of bipartisan issues, both from the Republican and Democratic Party on that side. I do not agree with that whatsoever. It's ran by Oracle servers, right? We can go on and on and on. And again, what I was about to say was the environmental policies. The Biden administration, they ran on the environment. They ran on defunding the police, who, again, Kamala, she is a police. She's a prosecutor. She was a state attorney general. And of course, holding nonviolent criminals illegally longer to force them to work for free labor in the state of California. That doesn't sound very democratic. That sounds quite authoritarian. You know, maybe we should start throwing some of those words around, but we're not here to incite political violence. We're here to just vote for the people and see what's the best path forward. This is why we're starting to integrate this, guys. It's only 4 months. After elections, everything changes. If the current status quo is elected, I don't think crypto is going to have the greatest 4 years afterwards. If a different party is elected, we might have one of the greatest bull runs of our lifetime and see an establishment of a market or an economy that's not artificial. The Keystone Pipeline, again, going back to them running on their environmental policies, they completely broke them. They're like, we're going to stop the Keystone Pipeline. We're going to not allow drill. Remember drill, baby, drill? That is the smartest economic policy by the Trump administration. Why? Well, again, miraculously, a pipeline blew up over in the, of course, Germany area. Also, you have a lot of conflict in the Middle East. We're now the largest oil exporter and importer in the entire world, and being energy dependent, guess what that means, guys? The more oil you drill, the lower your cost of your energy, the lower cost of your groceries, the lower cost of your supply chains, inflation comes down. That's how this works. It's basic math, right? The reason why inflation went up is, yes, we printed $9 trillion. There was a lot that happened with COVID, which again was both parties, primarily the left, was, again, Fauci, everybody forcing it in at the end of 2020 to lock down the government. Everybody, we've been saying this the entire time, that was never going to be a good idea to incite that amount of money printing and close down all of your small businesses. You know who are not doing well in this economy right now? The Russell 2000. It's your Magnificent Seven. It's the 7 largest tech companies in the world that are doing the best. That is artificial. That is not a good market. Credit cards, all-time high. Debt, all-time high. Business loans, all-time high. Medium households, all-time high. Go find one 22-year-old or one 24-year-old that can afford to buy a home, right? Let alone have credit and be able to afford an APR of 16, 17% if they're getting a car payment. If you're getting mortgages, you're at 6, 7% on your mortgages, right? We want to vote somebody in. Who gives a shit, excuse my language, about a 5% rent cap after it's jumped by like 400% in the last 4 years? BlackRock, Vanguard, your institutions, they own all of the real estate. The only way we break out of this, it's not a Trump or a Harris. It's going to take decades to unfold the 50 years of kleptocracy that has lobbied and changed these algorithms and all these laws to benefit these institutions. The only way out of this is tokenization and being able to actually buy a property without the insurance and bullshit in between, and actually be able to have 4 of your friends maybe go in on an actual house and not have to get butchered by an insurance company that's committing probably fraud on the back end and just completely wreck you with interest rates. That's the only way out of this. And the Harris and Biden administration have been massively behind that. Has Trump done some things? Who cares? He stole some stuff, had some documents at Mar-a-Lago. Did you know Joe Biden should be legally abided side by side with Trump in terms of stealing documents? He took documents when he was vice president. He didn't have the right. Who cares what classification where they were? 8 years in his garage with a dementia, a senile old man who Harris told you for like 4 years was fit to run for president, and now steps in last minute and goes, "Oh, Joe, he did a great job. He did a great job, but he was too sick. He was too unfit to run." What the fuck? There's no well, she did this and there's no track record with Harris. With Trump, yeah, cool. You're gonna go back to what, his bankruptcies and then his huge success, which he's now won battle after battle. Oh, a lot of you are gonna can't say the R word. You're gonna say, oh, he's the R word. No, it's a civil lawsuit for. Maybe bleep that out. Go look up the facts. Stop listening to some 21-year-old like Harry Sissons or whatever his name is on TikTok. These people funded by DNC groups. Absorb some critical thinking and just start researching. If we do not make the right change, guys, we are fucked in the next 4 years for crypto. And that is why I have been that's why I've been advocating a lot more on policies and politics. It's not me choosing the left or right. It's making sure that crypto has a place it can grow, because I do not want to leave the United States. Have any of you ever tried leaving the United States, getting a dual citizenship elsewhere? You can't. We're land of the free, home of the stuck. Any other country out there, if you've been outside the country, London, the UK, Australia, Singapore, it's like you can have dual citizenship. Maybe you got to leave for a week or two, come back. You can, got all these different tax, policies. The United States, you are stuck. You are stranded, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to survive as a young entrepreneur. So that is why I'm political. That's why I'm talking about crypto, because crypto is political. It's libertarian. It is taking away that power from that government. It's at the same time, guys, I am not some socialist or some fascist. Capitalism without socialism is fascism, and socialism without capitalism is communism. And I do not want to be on either end of those spectrum.